Hello and welcome. Is Putin going to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine? How should the West react to Putin's blackmail with nuclear weapons? These questions and the question of deterrence are going to be discussed in this video. First, let's talk about deterrence. To deter the use of nuclear weapons, the deterrence has to be positioned in a fine line of too much or too little. If the deterrence is too little, the use of nuclear weapons is fairly high. The likelihood of use is fairly high because the repercussions seem to be considered too low. If it is too strong, too massive, it's not going to be believed. It's going to be considered to be a bluff. So the usage of nuclear weapons is getting more likely as well. This makes deterrence fairly hard as it has to be balanced between too much and too little. So to not be a deterrence at all or not to be credible. But when we come to the question of nuclear weapons by Putin with his use of the blackmail, the right reaction is to ignore it, to not give in to blackmail. The reason for that is fairly simple. Putin, in this case, as a blackmailer, is acting like a gambler. If he is getting what he wishes, even if it is fairly little, he starts to believe that the system he has developed, a system to beat the bank. This will make him enter bigger bets with a bigger amount of chips, if we want to stick with that comparison. And the higher the bet goes, the more likely it is that at some point the victim of his blackmail can no longer give in and thus has to resort to means that will actually make a usage of nuclear weapons unavoidable. So to avoid the usage of nuclear weapons by a blackmailer, the easiest, the smallest blackmail should always be ignored. It should never be reacted to. There should never be giving in to nuclear weapons. When we come to the question of nuclear weapons usage in this war, it's one of the topics that is being considered and feared for the whole war. As of now, we can say it seems highly unlikely that Putin is going to use nuclear weapons. Why is that? First of all, Putin is preparing Russia for a long war. The usage of nuclear weapons would shorten the war dramatically. So all the measures he has taken over the last few weeks would no longer be needed. Neither would he need a partial mobilization, nor would he have to introduce martial law, nor all the other economic measures he's trying to take now to prepare Russia to be able to continue fighting. Putin is right now hoping that the West is going to give up over time so he can win. He's aiming at a longer time frame, whereas right now he can fill the front line with the mobilized reserves, and roughly March to May, the right now conscripted soldiers will be available to be used on the front line as well. That means Putin right now is preparing for a long war that doesn't need nuclear weapons. So according to those informations, I think we can almost be sure that there should not be any usage of nuclear weapons, at the very least until the middle of next year. Over general, the political consequences of a nuclear weapon usage would be dramatic and horrifying for Russia. Right now, a fair number of nations and a fair number of big and important nations are still neutral or even friendly towards Russia. The two most biggest one of them are obviously India and China. Both of them would immediately break off their good relations with Russia in case it used nuclear weapons in an aggressive war, in a war of aggression where it tries to take somebody else's territory. The reason for that is simple. Putin would open Pandora's box with it. He would prove to the world that only nuclear weapons are any help against an aggressor armed with nuclear weapons himself. This means all the nations feeling threatened by either India or China would themselves seek to get nuclear weapons as fast as possible. The last thing China and India want are South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, Vietnam, maybe Thailand to seek nuclear weapons as fast as possible. But that would be the clear consequence of that. So to summarize, Blackmail, nuclear blackmail should never be given in, as it would encourage the blackmailer to ask for more, as he thinks he has found a way to beat the opponent without firing a shot. The usage of nuclear weapons seems highly unlikely, at the very least until the middle of next year, probably further down the war as well, as the political costs for using nuclear weapons seem so high that Russia cannot take them. This was it for now already. As long as Ukraine is going to keep, and as long as the West is going to support Ukraine within reasonable military goals, so as long as the West isn't going to suddenly start promising Ukraine annexation of Russian territory, like for instance the oblasts of Kursk, Voronezh, Belgorod or others, as war reparations, the usage of nuclear weapons seems extremely low. The likelihood of usage of nuclear weapons. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed it. This channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by the means in the description. Thank you very much to everyone who's already supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel by non-financial means, you can obviously also do so. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Russia going to use nuclear weapons after all? Do you think it's a distinct possibility? It's a possibility. Do you think there would be a coup or the military would stop him? Any discussion like that could be highly interesting, and of course it would help with the algorithm, as will any like you give the video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I want to invite you to subscribe, and don't forget the bell icon so you don't miss future videos from now on. That's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.